The next matchup in the round of 32 comes in the West region. Fourth seeded Maryland against 12th seeded Colorado State. Colorado State did, I guess, pull off the upset seed wise, but they were the betting favorite in this game against Memphis in the first round. It seemed for a while like we had talked about, Memphis's offensive glass presence was going to be too much. Memphis got up 6 in the second half, felt like they were pulling away, and then Colorado State just went nuts on the offensive end. They made like every three, it felt like, and Memphis just melted per usual. But Maryland, they started pretty slow here in this game against Grand Canyon. First 5 minutes, they were really struggling offensively. I think they had 5 turnovers in the first 5 minutes. Only had, I think, 1 or 2 buckets. But ultimately, they ended up winning very, very comfortably here, as we had expected. And now they come into this game sitting at, 7.5 point favorites. Torvik projects this at 7. I think Maryland probably just handles it here. I mean, I have no reason to feel otherwise. I think Maryland, as we've talked about a bunch, aside from metrics, right, just eye test wise, they have great guards. They have the ability to score the ball at all 3 levels, really. 3-point line with the guards, at the rim with the bigs, and in the mid range off the dribble with some of these guards. And I think at the rim, they can have a lot of success here against Colorado State. We discussed Colorado State's lack of size and, the combination of Julian Reese and Derek Queen, I think, is going to prove to be too much in this one. Colorado State does have a pretty solid 2-point percentage defense, but their rim defense, not so much. They allow 61.2% at the rim. I think that Queen and Reese are really just going to end up being the difference here. That combo has been incredibly successful all year, and I don't expect that to change against Colorado State. So I think, that plus the guards, I think that's going to end up being the difference. Maryland just has too much for Colorado State.
Yeah, I think Maryland's defense might be the biggest difference in the game, in my opinion. I mean, they're 4th in adjusted defense per Torvik. I knew it was really good. I didn't realize that it was 4th right now. So, and they're playing against the Colorado State offense that's a very efficiency-based offense, like shooting efficiency-based offense. They're 24th in effective field goal percentage. Maryland's 20th in the country in effective field goal percentage defense, and that's playing in the Big Ten. So super impressive that what they've done this season, and they especially defend the 3-point line well. They're 87th in 3-point rate allowed and 19th in percentage allowed. They don't give up any open catch and shoot opportunities. They stay connected on the perimeter. They limit spot up chances, and they have length on the perimeter to make this Colorado State like smaller guard group outside of Nate Clifford feel pretty uncomfortable. So I do like the matchup for their defense quite a bit. And they don't, like Colorado State, like I said, they're an efficiency-based offense. They're not very good when it comes to ball security. They turn it over quite a bit, and they don't get on the offensive glass at all. So if they're not making shots at the elite clip that they've been making them at, I think this could be a long day, especially for their offense. And yeah, and like you said about Maryland's offense and their size in general, I think the front court has a big time advantage, even though Medved's defensive scheme tries to keep you away from the rim, keep you out of the paint, force you to win over the top. And Maryland can also win over the top, but we saw it today. Dane Danger dominated that game for most of it. I mean,
Yeah.
I had 3 or 4 text messages saying that Dane Danger is making this team look like a bunch of middle schoolers up front. And
I mean,
what do you think?
Bemba, he's just not going to be able to hang in with these guys.
Yeah, and what do you think 2 of them are going to do? Queen and Reese.
Right.
Like, they should be able – and they're arguably more – I mean, I'm not going to say Danger's more talented or less talented than Reese. I think Queen's probably the best out of those 3. But when you have that duo, it's going to be really hard to contain both of them. So there's a potential that this Colorado State defense breaks down a little bit. They're typically a really good defensive rebounding team. Memphis got on the glass at over a 40% rate today. It was a 43.2% offensive rebound rate. And they've shown that they're susceptible a little bit to teams that harp getting on the offensive glass. Maryland's just outside the top 100, but their size in general should prove to be enough here. So yeah, I like Maryland's matchup on both ends of the floor, and Colorado State is running extremely hot, especially shooting wise. So I do expect them to. I mean, there's more opportunity for them to get a little bit cold here. I thought that game against Memphis was a good spot for them to continue their shooting stretch that they were on. Memphis, their defense breaks down a lot, and they give up a lot of open looks from three. So, but Maryland doesn't do that. So I expect Maryland to kind of run away with this game.
Yeah, and I think Maryland, right? You talked about Colorado State being kind of loose with the ball, 187th in turnover rate. Maryland turns teams over at a pretty high rate. 37th in the country in turnover rate defense. So, as good as they are defending the 3 and 2-point defense, there's also a chance that they just turn Colorado State over a bunch here and are able to get out in transition with those guards and create a bunch of open looks in transition. Because they do want to play pretty fast. I mean, they're 57th in adjusted tempo in the country. So, if they can win the tempo battle here, which Colorado State wants to play slower, I think that's when they're going to really run away with this thing.
Yeah, I agree, and yeah, Colorado State definitely gets back in transition pretty well, but Maryland's offense is fine in the half court. They just have too many weapons. That starting 5 can match up with anybody in the country, so I think they're going to be fine, even if this game slows down a little bit. They may not cover the number if the game slows down a bunch, but I think there are opportunities to get out in transition as well because they press. Maryland presses at a pretty high rate. I think Colorado State can be a little bit vulnerable against the press. They handle the ball okay, but they're not super physical. So I think if Maryland's like in their shorts, I think it could be a long day.
Yeah, for sure. So we're expecting Maryland to move on to the Sweet 16 and take on Florida next weekend.